Chapter 5, Death. Gilgamesh sponged his friend's face and put a cup of water to his lips. "Soon be well, Enkidu, soon be well." Enkidu turned his face away. The pain inside his head was like an axe blow. "The gods say not. The gods say I must die." But Gilgamesh snorted dismissively. "Everyone dreams bad dreams when they're sick. Come on, man. Heroes like us aren't afraid of anything, are we?" 2 days later, Enkidu was powerless to sit up, unable to eat. A pulse of fear started up within Gilgamesh despite himself. "Soon be well, friend," he kept saying, but Enkidu only groaned. Something worse than misgiving seized on Gilgamesh. "I'll go to the temple, Enkidu. I'll go and pray for you. The gods will listen to me. Shamash listened before. I'll have the goldsmiths make a statue of you. Yes, I will. I'll tell them to make a golden statue of you and offer it up to the gods in place of the real thing. Why don't I do that? Yes. Wait here. Don't worry. You mustn't worry. Everything will be all right." And he was gone, running towards the temple, shouting commands, summoning his craftsmen. Enkidu was left alone on his bed. The sun moved around, and a ray of sunlight, like a fist, punched through the window and struck him in the face. "Oh, Shamash, you faceless orange clod, hear my curses," he told the sun. "Let my curse fall on that trapper who fetched me out of the wild. Make him smell so bad that the beasts sent him 12 leagues off. Let him never catch another creature, not so much as a gerbil. Let him fall into his own pits. Let the lions tear him limb from limb. And Hati, oh, curse that dancing girl for me. Let all doors shut against her. Give her nowhere to sleep but the rubbish heap. I was happy before she came. Out there in the wilderness I was happy, but she had to come along and daub me with kisses. She made the animals shun me, so let her be shunned." He broke off, panting for breath. His skull seemed to be squeezing the blood from his brain. The window hanging blew out in a draft and set the sunlight dancing. The beams were full of motes, like stylus marks on a tablet of yellow clay, dancing too excitedly to be read. It seemed to Enkidu that the voice came rustling in at the window along with that breeze, a voice so soft and gentle that he had to strain to hear it. "Enkidu, oh Enkidu, why curse? Why curse the trapper? And why curse little Hati? Without them you would never have gone questing after Huawa, never have fought the bull of heaven, never have written your name on history. The city would not now be holding its breath, praying for Enkidu. Gilgamesh would not be kneeling now in the temple of the gods, weeping salt tears. Don't you see? Without Hunter and Hati, you would never have met Gilgamesh. Now Gilgamesh will be the wild man. He will mourn you like a wolf baying at the moon and wander the world looking for comfort. Would you really choose to have lived without such a friend?" Enkidu's fist closed around the empty air containing the sunbeam. "I'll call them back. Every last curse. Be my witness, Shamash. I'll call them back. Never have met Gilgamesh? Hunter, may your traps be full every morning. May your arrows never miss their mark. Never have met Gilgamesh? Hati, little Hati, let men 12 leagues away see you and swoon. Let kings stop their chariots to propose marriage. Let the gods lean out of heaven to whistle at you. Never have met Gilgamesh? That would have been never to have lived at all. We came alive together, he and I. We made sense of it all. We made sense." Enkidu let his hand fall. Fever made the room throb and crinkle like the walls of a bread oven, and his tears were scalding hot. And yet he was easier in his mind. Gilgamesh came bounding back from the temple, hopeful, full of optimism. Now Enkidu would get better. It took only one glance to know he was mistaken. His friend's eyes were shut. Gilgamesh sank his fingers in his friend's hair and shook him. "Wake up! I thought you were..." Then Gilgamesh cradled his friend in his arms, and their tears soaked indistinguishable into the crumpled pillow. For 7 days Gilgamesh struggled, like a man swimming in mid-ocean, trying to keep a friend afloat. Below them in the depths cruised death. First it would swallow Enkidu, and then, in the blinking of an eye, Gilgamesh. Life was nothing but treading water until the sharks came along. "It's a shameful thing for a man to die like this," said Enkidu. "Ishtar hasn't just killed me. She's managed to shame me too. Listen, why is everywhere so quiet?" Gilgamesh eased his arm from under Enkidu and stood up stiffly. He went to the window with its broad sill and stepped outside, high above the silent city. His voice carried loud over the early morning city. "Quiet? It's not quiet, friend. Can't you hear the people of Uruk weeping for Enkidu? Can't you hear them? The girls who brought you food, the bathhouse girls who rubbed oil into your back, the shepherds, all sobbing like children. Listen, and the friends you made, so many friends, and Hati, little Hati." He raised his voice still higher. You animals in the wilderness, you knew him in his wild days, and you're weeping for him, aren't you? You trees in the cedar forest, you're weeping for him, aren't you? Every place we ever went, every blade of grass we trod underfoot, every river we ever drank from, all the mountains and all the valleys, they're weeping for you. Everyone is mourning Enkidu. Listen, can't you hear? Why can't you hear? He went back to the man on the bed, still shouting his lament, but Enkidu's eyes remained shut. Gilgamesh laid a hand on the wild man's heart, but knew he would feel no beat. "And me, Kidu? And me? I'm weeping. I'm weeping for you, Enkidu. Wake up now. Wake up and see how the world prizes you. Don't sleep your life away. Wake up now. Don't get lost in the dark." Gilgamesh covered his friend over with a sheet of silk, carefully, precisely, meticulously. Then he let loose the madness which he had kept at bay so long. He smashed everything precious, everything beautiful, ripping down hangings, hurling ornaments out of the window. He tore out his hair and pulled his clothes in shreds, twisting his knuckles white amid the rich fabrics. Then, when the rage was past, he sat down again by his friend, panting, one hand on the silk. "Wake up now. Please, wake up." The whole household gathered outside the door, whispering anxiously, calling out, offering to carry the body away for burial. But Gilgamesh would not let them in. He fixed his eyes on his friend's shrouded face, and he willed the silk to stir. And that day he sat with the body, all of the next day too. He did not try to hold back his tears. For 7 days and 7 nights he watched them make their splashy patterns on the tiles at his feet. Then on the 8th day he stopped crying. Realization fell on him like a ton of sand. No amount of crying was going to bring Enkidu back. His death went on forever. He got up and opened the door. The smell of decay in the bedroom was choking. Gilgamesh went outside into the sterile sunlight. The little golden statue of Enkidu, which he had commissioned as a bribe to the gods, stood on the table outside the temple of Shamash. Beside it, Gilgamesh set a red carnelian bowl filled with honey and a bowl of lapis lazuli filled with butter, offerings to the gods. After all, they were not really to blame, he mused. As flies droned in circles over the honey, and the butter changed from pale gold to a clear, translucent liquor. Mortal men are bound by the rules of nature. From the moment of birth, they are heading toward their death. He would not curse Shamash or Anu or Enlil or Nurgal or even Ishtar for taking his friend away from him. It was unbearable, and yet it had to be borne. That was the paradox. Unbearable. And yet it had to be born. Just so long as they did not expect him to die too.